Have you ever felt like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders? Like every choice, every action is scrutinized, and every mistake could be the end of everything? It's as though you're constantly playing a game where the rules are set by everyone else: family, friends, society. But what if I told you there's a secret that could lift that weight? A secret that could free you from the constant pressure to please and perform. What if the key to true freedom lies in stopping caring? Michel de Montaigne, the great 16th century philosopher, believed that we spend our lives chained by the expectations of others. He argued that we are not truly living when we are constantly striving to fit into roles created by society, shaped by the voices of others. His revolutionary ideal was simple yet profound. Let go of the need for approval, and you will discover a peace and freedom that you can't imagine. Think about it for a moment. How much of your life has been shaped by what others think of you? Whether it's the pressure to succeed, the fear of judgment, or the constant desire to prove yourself, all of this can feel suffocating. But what if you could stop caring about all of it? What if you could start living life on your own terms? Montaigne's philosophy doesn't mean being indifferent to others or rejecting all responsibility. It's about choosing to care less about the superficial, less about the fleeting opinions of others, and more about the true values that bring you peace and fulfillment. It's about letting go of the weight of unnecessary expectations and living authentically. In today's world, this idea seems radical, even impossible. We've been taught to care about appearances, reputation, success, and approval. But in the chaos of all this, we've lost sight of something essential: our true self. Montaigne's philosophy reminds us that freedom doesn't come from caring more, but from caring less about what doesn't truly matter. So, what if I told you that everything could fall into place when you stop caring? The moment you choose to care less about others' opinions, you open the door to a life of clarity, freedom, and real success. This is the path Montaigne walked, and it's waiting for you to step onto it. Have you ever noticed how much of your energy is spent on things that don't truly matter? We care about our appearance, our job status, and how others perceive us. We obsess over what people think of our decisions, our choices, and even our dreams. We live in a world where being liked and accepted often feels like the ultimate goal. And yet, in the pursuit of external validation, we forget something incredibly important: our own peace and freedom. Michel de Montaigne, one of the most influential philosophers of the Renaissance, recognized this burden early on. He understood that our constant need for approval and acceptance is a trap. In his essays, he wrote extensively about the unnecessary weight we carry when we let the judgments of others dictate our lives. He believed that most of our anxieties and fears come from this very need to conform and be liked, and that the only way to break free was to stop caring about what others think. Think about it. How much time do you spend wondering if others like you, or if you're living up to their expectations? How often do you hold back from speaking your mind, chasing your dreams, or taking risks because you fear judgment? Montaigne believed that these fears are not our own. They are the echoes of society. They come from parents, teachers, friends, and the culture around us, all of whom have shaped our understanding of what's right and acceptable. But here's the problem: these external pressures create an illusion of reality. We begin to mistake these judgments for our own truth. What happens when we live by these illusions? We feel overwhelmed, anxious, and at times even lost. We start measuring our worth based on external standards, and the more we care about meeting those standards, the more trapped we become. It's like being stuck in a cage of our own creation. Caring too much takes a toll on our mental health. It creates stress, worry, and fear. And these negative emotions don't just stay in our minds, they affect our bodies too. When we constantly worry about what others think, our stress levels rise, our hearts race, and we start to feel physically exhausted. This constant pressure to meet external expectations can lead to burnout, anxiety, and even depression. Montaigne recognized this as a universal truth. He knew that caring too much about others' opinions would never lead to peace or fulfillment. That's why he advocated for what might seem like a radical idea. Stop caring about what others think, and you will discover true freedom. You see, we have been conditioned from a young age to care about things that ultimately don't matter. Society tells us to pursue success, to climb the corporate ladder, to conform to beauty standards, and to live up to the expectations set by those around us. But the truth is, most of these goals are not aligned with who we truly are. They are externally imposed ideas that have no real bearing on our happiness or well-being. They are simply distractions that keep us from living authentically. Montaigne's philosophy urges us to step back and reevaluate what we are truly attached to. He challenges us to examine our fears and anxieties about the opinions of others and to realize that those fears are often unfounded. Most of the time, the things we worry about never actually happen. And even when they do, they often have little impact on our long-term happiness. Take a moment to think about this. How much of your energy is spent on things that are not truly important? How many times have you allowed the opinions of others to shape your choices? How many times have you held yourself back because of fear or self-doubt? The truth is, we have the power to let go of these worries. By embracing Montaigne's philosophy, we can learn to separate ourselves from the expectations of others and begin living a life that is truly our own. It's not about ignoring the people around us or rejecting all societal norms. It's about realizing that our worth is not defined by others. We don't need external validation to feel good about ourselves. True peace comes from within. Montaigne understood that freedom is found when we stop caring about what others think and start focusing on what we value most. The more we free ourselves from the shackles of societal expectations, the more we open ourselves up to a life of authenticity and self-acceptance. When we stop caring about fitting into a mold that doesn't serve us, we can finally live in alignment with our true selves. In the next section, we'll explore how detaching from external pressures can lead to a more fulfilled and peaceful life, and how Montaigne's radical approach can set us free from the endless cycle of anxiety and self-doubt. But first, ask yourself, what would it feel like to care less about what others think and care more about what truly matters to you? In the previous section, we explored the burden of caring too much and how society has conditioned us to value the opinions of others. But now, let's take a step toward freedom, the freedom that comes from detaching from these external expectations and letting go of the need for approval. Montaigne's philosophy is simple yet revolutionary. When you stop caring about the judgments of others, when you stop living to meet societal standards, everything begins to fall into place. It's not about neglecting responsibilities or abandoning relationships. It's about learning to prioritize what truly matters: your peace of mind, your inner values, and your sense of self-worth. This is where the concept of detachment becomes key. In Montaigne's world, detachment didn't mean withdrawing from life or becoming indifferent. Instead, it was about detaching from the need for validation and choosing to care only about what aligned with your true self. He recognized that the more we are attached to external outcomes, the more we base our happiness on other people's opinions, the more we become slaves to them. When we detach, we free ourselves from this cycle of dependence. Let's take a deeper look at what detachment really means. It's not about completely disregarding others or isolating yourself. Detachment is about developing the ability to observe your thoughts and emotions without getting entangled in them. Imagine your thoughts as clouds passing in the sky. You are not the cloud. You are the sky. The clouds come and go, but the sky remains unchanged, vast and unaffected by the fleeting nature of the clouds. In the same way, when you stop identifying with your thoughts and emotions, you remain rooted in your true self, unaffected by the chaos around you. One of the most powerful tools Montaigne used to detach was self-reflection. He spent much of his life in solitude, reflecting on his own mind and emotions. trying to understand his true nature beyond the surface-level distractions. In this process of reflection, he didn't strive for perfection. Instead, he embraced his flaws and limitations, accepting them as part of his human experience. He didn't worry about what others thought of him. He focused on who he truly was without the influence of the world around him. You may be thinking, that sounds great, but how do I actually detach from these pressures in my own life? The truth is, it's a practice just like any other skill. The more you work at it, the more natural it becomes. Here are a few practical steps to get started. Practice mindfulness. The key to detachment is learning to be present in the moment. When you are truly present, you are no longer consumed by worries about the past or future. You begin to notice your thoughts as they come and go without getting attached to them. Mindfulness meditation is a great way to start this practice. Label your thoughts. Instead of identifying with every thought, try to observe them. When a negative thought arises, such as, "I'm not good enough," simply label it. "My mind is having the thought that I'm not good enough." This small shift allows you to see the thought for what it is, just a passing mental event, and not a reflection of your truth. Let go of perfectionism. Perfectionism is rooted in the fear of judgment. When you stop caring about being perfect, you open the door to authenticity. Allow yourself to make mistakes, knowing that they do not define you. Self-compassion is a key element of this practice. Focus on what truly matters. Instead of chasing validation or approval, focus on what brings you true fulfillment. Ask yourself, what do I value most in life? And align your actions with those values. When you live authentically, you no longer need to prove anything to anyone. As you begin practicing these techniques, you'll notice something amazing happening. You start to feel lighter. The weight of other people's expectations, the anxiety about making the right choices, and the fear of judgment will begin to fade. You'll realize that you don't need the approval of others to feel worthy. Your worth is inherent, and it doesn't depend on anyone else's opinion. This process of detachment doesn't happen overnight. It's a journey, and there will be times when you slip back into old habits. But each time you catch yourself, you'll be a little bit closer to the freedom Montaigne spoke about. The more you practice detachment, the more you'll realize that you are not your thoughts, your fears, or your mistakes. You are the observer, the one who can choose to rise above the noise and see the world with clarity. Montaigne himself was a prime example of this kind of freedom. Despite his aristocratic background and societal expectations, he chose to live a life of authenticity. He rejected the roles and masks that society placed on him, instead embracing the wisdom that comes from self-reflection and acceptance. His writings are a testament to the power of detachment, showing us that true freedom comes from within, not from the approval or validation of others. So, what happens when you begin to let go of these attachments? When you stop caring about external opinions and start focusing on what really matters to you, everything falls into place. You'll find peace. You'll find clarity. You'll find a deep sense of freedom, unburdened by the constant need to please others. And most importantly, you'll find yourself authentically, peacefully, and fully present in your own life. In the next section, we'll dive into how Montaigne's wisdom can be applied to modern life, and how letting go of these pressures can lead to a more fulfilled and peaceful existence. But for now, take a moment to reflect. What would it feel like to let go of the need for validation and start living your life for yourself? We've discussed the burden of caring too much and the power of detaching from external expectations. Now let's explore how Montaigne's timeless wisdom can be applied to our fast-paced, modern lives. In a world driven by external validation, social media, and constant comparison, it's more important than ever to embrace Montaigne's philosophy of caring less about the opinions of others and living authentically. Today, we are bombarded by messages that tell us what we should care about, what we wear, how we look, how successful we appear, and what others think of us. Social media amplifies these pressures, presenting idealized versions of life that we feel we need to measure up to. But as Montaigne would argue, this constant pursuit of approval only traps us in a cycle of stress, anxiety, and self-doubt. The key to Montaigne's philosophy is self-awareness. He didn't follow the crowd or let external forces dictate his choices. Instead, he took time for reflection to truly understand his own mind and desires. In today's world, we can do the same by learning to question the voices that try to tell us how to live, and instead focusing on what makes us happy, fulfilled, and true to ourselves. Living authentically in a world of expectations. One of the greatest gifts Montaigne gave us was the idea of living authentically, free from the shackles of other people's judgments. In his essays, he often reflected on the pressure to conform to societal expectations. In modern terms, we can think of these expectations as the masks we wear to fit in. Whether it's the perfect social media persona or the career goals that we think we should pursue, these masks are constructed from the outside world and don't reflect our true essence. So how do we start living authentically today? The first step is self-reflection. Montaigne spent years reflecting on his thoughts, fears, and desires, which allowed him to discern what truly mattered to him. In the same way, we must make time for self-reflection and ask ourselves, what do I really want from life? Not what society says we should want, but what genuinely makes us feel alive and at peace. Self-reflection doesn't have to be complicated. It can be as simple as journaling, meditating, or even just taking the quiet walk and allowing our minds to wander. When we give ourselves space to listen to our own thoughts without judgment, we begin to hear our authentic voice more clearly. Social media is one of the biggest challenges to living authentically today. It constantly pushes us to compare ourselves to others. We see friends, influencers, and celebrities living seemingly perfect lives, and it can make us feel inadequate. But comparison is the thief of joy, as they say, and Montaigne would have agreed. He understood that comparing ourselves to others only leads to frustration and dissatisfaction, rather than focusing on the external world and comparing our lives to those of others. Montaigne encourages us to focus inward. Instead of asking, "Am I as successful as so-and-so?" ask, "Am I living a life that feels true to me?" This subtle shift in perspective allows us to break free from the trap of comparison and start living for ourselves, not for others' approval. To truly embrace Montaigne's wisdom in the modern world, we need to reduce the noise. Social media can be a powerful tool, but it's also full of distractions and false narratives. By limiting the time we spend scrolling and choosing to follow accounts that inspire us authentically, we can regain control of our own story. Stop seeking validation through likes and comments, and start validating yourself. Montaigne also teaches us to prioritize what truly matters. In a world full of distractions and demands, it's easy to lose sight of what's important. We get caught up in the rush of daily life, trying to meet deadlines, impress others, and keep up with trends. But Montaigne believed that true contentment comes from focusing on what brings inner peace, not external success. To apply this lesson in modern life, start by asking yourself, what do I value most in life? Is it family, creativity, personal growth? Once you know what truly matters to you, make it a point to focus on these areas. Let go of the things that drain your energy and focus on the activities that nourish your soul. For example, if family is a core value for you, spend more time nurturing relationships with loved ones rather than pursuing career goals that don't align with your values. If creativity is what lights you up, make space in your life to create, whether it's through writing, art, or innovation. Montaigne also advocated for living in the present moment, not obsessing over the future or past. We often worry about what's ahead or regret what we've done in the past. But Montaigne's philosophy reminds us that the present is the only moment we truly control. By focusing on the present, we free ourselves from unnecessary anxiety and enjoy life more fully. As we integrate Montaigne's teachings into our daily lives, we begin to see a shift. Letting go of the need for approval and validation allows us to make decisions that align with our true selves. We feel more peaceful, more grounded, and more confident in our choices. And as we become more authentic, we naturally attract people and opportunities that align with our values. So how can you start embracing Montaigne's wisdom today? Begin by asking yourself, what can I let go of today? What external pressures am I carrying that no longer serve me? This could mean letting go of the need to be perfect, of the pressure to impress others, or of the fear of judgment. Letting go doesn't mean ignoring responsibilities. It means focusing on what truly matters to your well-being and living a life that feels aligned with your deeper purpose. We've now explored the philosophy of Montaigne, the power of detachment, and how we can apply his wisdom to our modern lives. But what happens when you truly begin to let go of the burdens that have weighed you down for so long? When you stop caring about the judgments of others and start focusing on living authentically? The answer is simple: transformation. Montaigne's wisdom holds the key to real freedom, a freedom that isn't just about escaping the pressures of the world, but about transforming how we view ourselves and our place in the world. As we embrace this freedom, something profound happens. We begin to feel lighter, more at peace, and more aligned with who we truly are. But this transformation isn't just a nice concept. It's something tangible. It's a shift that can change everything from your relationships to your career, your health, and even your sense of purpose. So let's look at what happens when you truly stop caring and how it leads to an entirely new life. The transformation of self-worth. One of the most powerful changes that happens when you stop caring about others' opinions is a shift in your sense of self-worth. For most of our lives, we rely on external validation to determine our value. We look to other people's reactions, their approval, their praise to feel good about ourselves. But Montaigne reminds us that this is a trap. When we base our self-worth on external factors, we give away our power to other people's judgments. But when you choose to stop caring about those judgments and live for yourself, your sense of self-worth comes from within. You no longer depend on others to validate you because you already know your own worth. Your value is no longer tied to what others think, but to who you are at your core. This is true freedom, the freedom to be yourself without the need to conform. When we stop caring about what others think, we begin to see ourselves with clarity. We realize that we are enough as we are. And from this space of self-acceptance, we can build a life that is truly aligned with our deepest desires, not with what others expect from us. Another profound shift occurs when we begin to let go of the constant stress of worrying about the opinions of others. Stress is a natural byproduct of living for external validation. When we care too much about how we appear to others, or how our actions will be judged, it creates tension in our bodies and minds. We become anxious, overwhelmed, and exhausted from trying to meet unattainable standards. But when we stop caring, that stress begins to melt away. The pressure to perform, to impress, to meet expectations dissipates. We no longer feel like we have to be perfect. Instead, we focus on doing what brings us joy and fulfillment. We learn to say no to the things that drain our energy and say yes to the things that nourish our souls. This shift isn't just about feeling more relaxed. It's about a profound sense of inner peace that comes when we stop letting external pressures define us. We begin to live in a state of equanimity, where our emotional state is no longer dependent on the chaos around us. One of the most incredible benefits of embracing Montaigne's philosophy of detachment is that we begin to live with purpose and clarity. When we stop caring about the superficial, we create space to focus on what truly matters to us, our passions, our desires. No longer distracted by the noise of external validation, we can see what really drives us. This clarity leads to action. Instead of feeling lost or stuck, we begin to take steps toward the life we want to create. We feel more motivated, more aligned with our true values. Montaigne's focus on self-reflection and inner peace enables us to uncover our true calling, the work we are meant to do, and the relationships that nourish us. For example, when we stop caring about societal expectations, we might find the courage to pursue a career that truly excites us, start a creative project we've been putting off, or simply focus on spending more time with loved ones. The key is that our actions are no longer dictated by what we think others want from us, but by what we know is best for us. When you stop caring about what others think, you break free from the cycle of fear that keeps you stuck. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, and fear of not measuring up to others' expectations can paralyze us, preventing us from taking risks and reaching our full potential. But as Montaigne's philosophy teaches, fear fades when we stop letting it control us. Instead of avoiding discomfort or challenges out of fear, we start to embrace them. We take risks, knowing that our value doesn't depend on success or failure, but on the courage to follow our path. This mindset shift allows us to live boldly, to take action with confidence, knowing that we are not defined by outcomes, but by the way we live, authentically, living a life of freedom. Ultimately, the real transformation that occurs when you stop caring about others' opinions is the ability to live a life of freedom. Freedom from fear. Freedom from self-doubt. Freedom from the constant pressure to please. As Montaigne teaches us, true freedom comes when we are no longer trapped by external expectations. We become masters of our own lives, guided by our inner wisdom and purpose. So, what does it look like to live this freedom? It looks like peace in your heart, confidence in your choices, and joy in your everyday life. It's about living in alignment with your true self, not dictated by anyone else's rules, but your own. In the next section, we'll explore how to take the next step in this journey, how to fully embrace the freedom that comes with letting go and stop living in fear. But for now, take a moment to ask yourself, how would your life change if you stopped caring about the opinions of others? What would it feel like to step into your full potential without fear of judgment? We've taken a deep dive into Montaigne's philosophy, exploring how the burden of caring too much about what others think can lead to stress, anxiety, and a lack of fulfillment. We've looked at the power of detachment, learning to let go of the expectations placed on us by society and instead living authentically, free from external validation. Now let's explore the final realization. Freedom comes when you stop caring. Montaigne's teachings may seem simple, but they hold a transformative power. In a world that constantly pushes us to conform, to fit in, and to measure our worth based on external standards, Montaigne reminds us that the most important relationship we have is the one with ourselves. When we stop caring about the approval of others, we open ourselves to a life that is true, authentic, and free from the chains of societal expectations. You may be thinking, but how can I stop caring about the opinions of others when they seem to matter so much in my career, my relationships, my life? It's natural to have these concerns. In today's world, it can feel impossible to break free from the constant stream of opinions, judgments, and pressures. But Montaigne teaches us that true freedom doesn't come from changing the world around us. It comes from changing how we relate to the world. Freedom is not about ignoring reality or living in a bubble. It's about understanding that our internal peace is not dependent on the approval of others. We cannot control how others see us, but we can control how we see ourselves. Montaigne's philosophy teaches that when we stop caring about external judgments, we open the door to personal freedom, freedom from the fear of judgment, freedom from the need to fit in, and freedom from the pursuit of perfection. One of the core ideas of Montaigne's philosophy is that we should detach from outcomes. In our modern lives, we are obsessed with results, whether it's career success, social media approval, or winning the approval of others. We attach our sense of self-worth to achieving specific outcomes. But Montaigne argued that this attachment to results only leads to anxiety and disappointment. By detaching from outcomes, We free ourselves from the weight of expectations. Instead of focusing on the end result, we focus on the journey itself. We embrace life as it comes without the constant fear of failure or disappointment. Detachment doesn't mean not caring about the result. It means not allowing the result to define your worth. Whether you succeed or fail, your value remains the same. For example, imagine you're pursuing a career goal or creative project. If you are attached to the idea of success, if your worth is tied to achieving that goal, you'll likely experience stress, fear, and frustration along the way. But if you detach from the outcome, you can enjoy the process itself, learn from the challenges, and feel a sense of fulfillment regardless of the final result. Letting go of the need for validation is not an overnight process. It's a practice, a mindset that must be cultivated over time. It requires conscious effort, self-reflection, and a willingness to release the fear of judgment. But just like any practice, the more we focus on it, the more natural it becomes. Here are a few ways to practice letting go in your daily life. Be mindful of your thoughts. Pay attention to the thoughts that arise when you are in social situations. Are you worried about how you're being perceived? Are you seeking approval? Mindfulness allows you to observe these thoughts without getting attached to them. Just like clouds in the sky, they come and go, but they don't define who you are. Take small risks. Start small by stepping outside of your comfort zone. Say no to things that don't serve you, even if you fear others' reactions. Speak your truth without worrying about how it will be received. The more you practice saying no and expressing yourself authentically, the easier it becomes to stop caring about approval. Set boundaries. Letting go of caring about what others think means establishing boundaries. Protect your time, energy, and emotional well-being by staying true to your values. Stop sacrificing your happiness to please others. This doesn't mean being selfish. It means honoring your needs and desires first. Surround yourself with authentic people. Surround yourself with people who support you for who you truly are, not for the persona you present. Authentic relationships are built on mutual respect and acceptance. When you are around people who accept you as you are, it becomes easier to stop caring about external validation. Montaigne's wisdom invites us to live beyond the fear of judgment, the fear that has held us back for so long. When you stop caring about what others think, you liberate yourself from the chains of fear and self-doubt. You can walk through life with confidence, knowing that your worth is inherent and not based on anyone else's opinion. This freedom doesn't mean you'll never face challenges or criticism, but it means that you will no longer be defined by them. When you stop seeking approval, you become unshakable in your authenticity. You begin to live life with intention, following your true path without fear of what others might say or do. As we reach the end of this journey through Montaigne's philosophy, remember this: true freedom is not found in external circumstances or the approval of others. It's found within you, in the space between your thoughts and your reactions. When you stop caring about what others think, you step into the life you were meant to live. You embrace who you truly are and let go of everything that doesn't serve your highest purpose. So, ask yourself, what would happen if I stopped caring about others' opinions and started living for myself? What kind of life would I create if I freed myself from the fear of judgment and the need for validation? The answer lies in your hands. You have the power to choose freedom. Now it's time to live it.